This is about to change everything that you think about entertainment, so buckle up. Hey there, Internet. First, let me ask you a question. Did it work? Did that salacious title, that ridiculous thumbnail, and that absurdly ambiguous opening hook make you feel so utterly compelled that you just had to watch this video? I'm willing to bet that it did, and even if it wasn't a conscious decision, there was a part of your brain that said, hey, I need to watch that now rather than watching it later, or I need to watch it now rather than not watching it at all, because that is the way our brains have been wired to think for at least the past 30, 40 years. But in the past 5 or 10 years, with the explosion of the internet and social media, what was once a creeping issue has exploded to become something that has radically redefined what entertainment is and how it functions in our lives. In short, entertainment has become an obligation. Now, I've only been alive for 24 years, so I can't pretend to know when it was that entertainment stopped being something that people simply enjoyed and started being something that people felt like they ought to be doing. But let me tell you, that is everywhere today. You might not believe me, but I want you to stop and think about when was the last time that you heard from someone or you said to someone, I can't believe you haven't seen that show. Man, you're so completely missing out. You gotta go home. You gotta get on Netflix. You got to binge it. Do you hear that language? You have to. You need to. It's no longer a you want to or you should or I think you would enjoy it. It's the claim that if you want to be able to function in 21st century leisure-soaked American culture, you have to be able to speak about these broader entertainment concepts that everyone knows about. People, and especially the people who create those sources of entertainment, want you to feel that way because every time that they get your eyes to latch onto their object, they get money in their pockets. And it's no longer something that can be avoided by just turning off the television set. Now, your friends are texting you to ask if you watched the latest episode of Game of Thrones, and ads all over your social media are tied into what your friends are doing and obligating you to follow those trends because of course you want to be like your friends because you want them to like you more, right? Because the internet allows us to gain information anytime, whenever we want, from whatever source we want. Questionable as those sources may be, though I'm not even going to get into that right now. Our brains have become accustomed to constantly getting new input, and so if they can just be nudged slightly in one direction, then they will follow that path until that source of entertainment dries up and then suddenly start shifting and look on and latch on to something else. They've been trained to seek out anything that hints at another hit. This is why something like that title down there, or a thumbnail of me going like this, it's a cup, by the way, nothing exciting about that whatsoever, can nudge you just enough so that you think that that's going to be your next source of entertainment. And I don't know about you, but it's become overwhelming and exhausting. If I let myself, I will whittle away my days off work, pouring hours into Netflix or hours into the latest video game or hours, well, not so much into books, that's what I really wish I were doing, but hours into these things that I'm honestly not even sure that I enjoy all that much. They're just something like I feel like as a human being who exists in America, I ought to have experienced. But of course, because so much is created constantly, more and more things just keep getting added to the list and fewer things get taken off. I mean, have you looked at your Netflix instant queue recently? There's probably 200 items on there if you're anything like me. And instead of a source of enjoyment and relaxation, this becomes a constant weighing burden on your mind saying, oh, you know, I really should be watching a few more minutes of television, or I gotta get through another episode if I'm gonna stay caught up. And what is wrong with us? Are we so gullible as a species to think that these passing electronic fancies, and not even just electronic, but all sorts of things, are worth investing our time and our lives? Our lives are trickled away day by day, poured into a worthless drivel, and I've just kind of had enough. Sure, I'm still susceptible to these sorts of instincts, but I've started actively distancing myself from the popular stream of culture. There's a reason why my current Netflix obsession is Cheers from the 1980s. Ironically, one of the shows that kind of started the must-watch TV movement, but that's just kind of a coincidence, and why I only watch a few episodes of it every single day, or if even that. I don't want my free time dictated to me by someone who says that I probably ought to know these things. I don't have a clue what is playing on the radio right now, or what happened in the current season of This Is Us, or, well, actually, I do know that because it was all over the freaking Super Bowl. Spoiler alert, he died in a fire. But heck, that's the only mainstream popular television show I can even name right now off the top of my head. And it's refreshing. It might make me seem like an idiot when I'm having conversations with people out and about in the real world, as they call it, but I would argue that they're living far more in an artificial world than I am. I don't want to come off as holier than thou, because there are many, many times in my life that I have poured myself into fictional universes and just been consumed by them and overwhelmed by them, and they've weighed upon me. But I think it's something that we at least need to be aware of and to push back against, and that is what I wanted to do with this, is call that to your attention by using the very tools of the trade that I despise. Because once you really start to think about what you're seeing, it's just not worth the effort. Deuces. Of course, this wouldn't be a good commentary on virality if I didn't ask you to pass this along to your friends so that they can see it. And if you liked what you saw, consider clicking that subscribe button so you can keep up to date with everything I'm doing, including a couple projects that might be coming out soon.